Good day, St. Lucia, and welcome to another edition of Chill and Chat. I'm your host, Mondi Lewis, and today I have with me Senator Guibion Ferdinand, the candidate for Micoud South. Welcome to Chill and Chat, Senator.
Thank you, Mondi. Good day, everyone. Nice to be here.
Oh, lovely. I'm so excited about this. I mean, don't tell the other candidates, but he's probably one of my favorites in the whole lot. So don't tell him.
I hope you didn't say that to any of the others.
Not at all, not at all. But let's get into the discussion. Are you from the constituency of Micoud South?
Absolutely. Born in Micoud South in a small part of the community called La Chauton or Duchon.
Wow.
Some people say Amago, but it's east of Deriso. If you leave the main road, it's you get into Angers first, and it's right between Angers and central Deriso. And I was born there in 1973.
Oh, giving us a lot of information.
Yes. I remember my mom told me that an old lady named Cousin Eve delivered me. So I was not born at the hospital, I was born at home.
Okay.
I grew up there, and at about 5 years, we moved to Deriso, where she married my stepdad. And I lived in Deriso until, well, I still live there. So, yes, I'm born and bred.
Okay, so you were born, literally,
Yes.
in the constituency, and you have remained in the constituency all this time. So could you tell us about life in, Micoud South? And I think I've said this on a previous show, but I lament the fact that I really didn't have that kind of upbringing when people talk about river limes and going and catch crabs and climbing trees.
Well, yes, that's typically what any child being raised in Micoud South would have experienced. Deriso is actually, the name came out of the concept that it's between two rivers.
Two rivers.
The largest river in St. Lucia and the longest.
Okay.
Canals and Tromasi. And being from there, so you basically have to learn to swim, because you would be interacting with these rivers a lot. The Canals River is the one that's closest to me, and our garden used to be just across the river. So I spent a lot of time there, fishing and learning to swim. Raised in the community, typically it's a farming community, so on the weekends after school, you'd be expected to help out. So I would typically on a weekend be on the farm, and in those days the banana industry was booming, so you had to be assisting your parents in making a bread. So my chores were basically around the house to help and on the farm. Yeah.
Okay, and you went to school also in
Absolutely. I went to preschool at a lady named Miss Uriza James. She is the most renowned early childhood educator in the part of the community. And from there, Miss Uriza, there's a joke about her. We would start reciting the alphabets: capital A, small a, capital B, small b. And she had her goats. She would leave us there, go tie her goats and do all the stuff. And when she came back, or if we got to capital Z, small z, she would come back and start us off again. Yeah. So she goes back, does her chores, and we just continued. The flooring was dirt at the time. I remember us playing in the dirt and enjoying preschool days. So from there, I attended the Deriso Combined School, which still is there, and it was the first established primary school in the community, and between 1978 and 85. And of course there was a common entrance, which took me out of the community for a little while, because when I had to attend school in Castries, at the Castries Comprehensive, I had to live with a family member in Castries. So for a little while I moved out of the community, but I was always at home on weekends. So back up to 1989, I got back into the community, and I've been there since.
Okay, because I mean, one would think that schooling has taken you out of the community, but right after you...
Not for the first time. Every time I had my studies to do, I would be out, but I always returned. As soon as I had no commitment outside, I was back home.
So what has kept you in the community?
I don't know. To begin with, I always loved people. I was brought up more in an extended family setting, so I always had the charm of my family members, a large family, very large family, And I've always been connected to the people with the basic things that I did. I love sports, and that was basically our pastime. The Deriso playing field, if you didn't find me in church, you would find me by the field. Everybody knows where to find me. Even now, if they come to my home and I'm not there, they figure he must be by the field. And so that was my biggest motivation to remain within the community. And so from a very early age, I got involved in community leadership through sports mainly. Church as well, I was a catechist. I'm now more or less a liberal Christian, but I was raised in the Catholic Church. So I was everything. Catechist. Well, I didn't do the acolyte thing because there was a thing about you have to smell the priest's fart. That's why.
As a child,
I didn't want to be told that I was smelling father's fart. So I didn't do that one. But I also was a reader, an animator in church. And I was also one who picked up the elderly on Sundays to take them to church. So I had a very active life in church. And I also love sports, particularly cricket and volleyball. We had a volleyball club. The first one that was formed in the community, we formed it. It was called Sparks Volleyball Club. And we had a nice thing going with Cicero. Okay. So I graduated from Sparks into the national volleyball scene through that. And of course, did some coaching, cricket. And later on, I started bringing in football administration, which is where I last gave my major contribution through sports in the area of football administration, became a FIFA instructor, did some real good work. Everybody can tell you now that the Deriso community was one of the most vibrant ones and have had a very good sporting infrastructure. That was because of the leadership that I provided, along with some very, very committed people, I must say. And I must commend people like Natalie August and Philip Taylor, you know, and before me, people like Frank Flood, Leroy Flavius. Those people really helped to inspire my energy and my desire to serve. So sports, church, community service, that's basically what I would be known by.
Okay, I mean, that's a really good contribution to have within a community. But, I mean, outside of your extracurricular activities, what was your last profession before politician?
I've only formally worked in the education system.
Okay.
I started as a teacher at the Blanchard Combined School. It was the newer school. Deriso Combined is my alma mater, but the Blanchard Combined School was opened in 1987, and the principal then was my former principal, Mr. Thomas Daniel. I liked his style, his management style. He was supposed to be a very strict man, but it kind of fitted my personality because I'm also a no-nonsense person. Some people in the community still call me Castro, but I don't tell too many people that. It's my sports management name. And I kind of related to his management style, so I opted to apply to work at the Blanchard Primary School, Blanchard Combined, and we did wonderful things there. So I was a teacher for a long time, from 1990 to 2004, I think. And then I moved, after some of my studies, I moved to the Beaufort Technical for a year, and then moved to the Micoud Secondary School as a teacher in 2004. And then, when the principal retired in 2006, I applied and was appointed as principal of Micoud Secondary.
Okay.
I spent 10 years as a principal, but 12 years in total at the Micoud Secondary School. So my last formal job was as a principal of the Micoud Secondary School.
So what would persuade you? I mean, we know what persuaded you, politics. But have you regretted the move from teacher, you know, you have your nice, safe school, to survey people, and now you become a politician?
No regrets, absolutely none. In fact, I think I've been a politician for a very long time. I was just not in a party.
Yes.
I'll tell you why. As a sports administrator and being the first child in the family as well, I always had responsibility for leadership. I've always been either ascribed or in some way just became part of my life. And perhaps some of what I did was essentially what politicians ought to have been doing, providing hope and helping young people develop. I just realized that what I was doing it part-time and voluntarily, and it took a lot of effort and energy away from my job, because sometimes I'd leave home in the morning and my children were still asleep. I go to work, and when I return in the evening, they're already sleeping. They didn't see me for the day. And why? I go to work, straight out of work, there's a game on the field. I have to make sure I'm there to check on the referees and everything. After the game, there's a meeting with the clubs. I get home at 11 p.m. And that was like routine. So going around helping the elderly and almost all the things that I did normally and as a routine and part of my daily life was what I saw politicians doing to get votes. And I'm thinking, but you know, why are these guys doing this? They should be doing this part-time. So I was always drawn to people. But one of the things that really caused me to really make the move into active elective politics was my dissatisfaction with what I saw going on in Micoud South. It was the constituency of Sir John, who happened to have been at my wedding, and he was almost like the father giver. He was a very close friend of my in-laws, and in fact his office was at my wife's mom's house.
Okay. Yeah,
the balcony right next to the road was Sir John's office. So that tells you the kind of connection that was there. As a child, I didn't have too much to say about Sir John in terms of his relationship with the people. I think he had a very good relationship. But I also noticed that there was a lot more that could have been done. Of course, Sir John passed, and then we had St. James, and he's also a member of my extended family. I was always dissatisfied with the level of representation that we received. And from early, my family members knew it. In fact, we had a bit of tension when I was in the sports administration, because I fell out with them and we had some clashes. I always challenged what was going on. It was never good enough. And so that drove me to want to get involved. But of course, the community having been primarily or predominantly UWP, it was almost like you're swimming against the tide. Of course, I was approached to run as a UWP candidate. And I resisted. I said, no, I'm not happy with the circles that I see. There was this circle of family and friends that did everything. They controlled the community. And I felt like somebody had to stand up for those who couldn't stand up for themselves. So I've been in this battle long before politics. Politics was just the formality at the end to offer myself formally as a candidate. But long before the formal politics, I had been in a lot of struggles on behalf of the less fortunate, the youth for sure, families who couldn't speak up for themselves. I've had people having almost to threaten me because I stood up for somebody. Guy used to sell his little peanuts by the field, and another guy came, grabbed his stuff and threw it, and I stood up. And I ended up being in some kind of, so this is basically what I saw myself as. So, that essentially motivated me to enter active politics.
Okay, and I mean, by the time you were announced, I remember we had already known who your opponents would have been.
Yeah.
I mean, when I think about the stories you have told about growing up within the community, from your preschool, your your primary school education, and then having gone back teaching, and so many familiar names that you call out, I just think, I can't even understand how someone is really transplanted within your community, doesn't speak, and a lot of people don't want to say it or don't believe it, the primary language of a lot of persons, because some people don't understand that, Creole is a very instructional language to people. Even for my grandparents and my great-grandparents, they're more comfortable.
It's their first language.
Yeah, it's their first language. They're more comfortable speaking Creole to me. And we know your opponent. Really, how does that happen, and how does that make you feel, coming out of an election, having lost, but seeing a total stranger being accepted by your own people?
You see, if you come from Micoud South, you will probably understand that. I think that's the only place in St. Lucia where these things can happen.
Okay.
Quite honestly. And growing up in the community, I always recognized that there was this tendency for us to be made to believe that what comes from outside is probably better than what we have. And that was one of my struggles. Even coaches, we had guys within the community that I tried to push into getting certified. And you just see some stranger coming in to do 2 days or to recruited to do a stint, and everybody thinks he's better than the local coach. I think it's an issue that has to do with our self-esteem, and that is one of the things I would want to see change. I think growing up in the community, there was always this tendency for some people to feel that they were less important, and there was this lack of identity and self-esteem. Being from the community, what does that mean? And so we always had, except for us and James, we had before individuals who were not from Micoud South, who were our district representative. Sir John Compton was nowhere from the community, but he was able to blend in with the farmers and so on. St. James was from the constituency, but there were some issues. And I think when the candidate came over, I think it was someone who was imposed on the people, but not so much just Alan Chasney, but the people through which or through whom he came in.
Okay.
It's a family everybody knows that has basically controlled the business of the constituency for decades. And they imposed him on the people, although they tried to make it look like they had a consultation, but we all know what happened. There was this theory about the seat being sold and all of this. The people saw that family as a family that they depend on, and they trusted that family to have brought in someone that they can work with. They didn't really care who. And I can tell you now, the dialogue has changed. The conversation is different. The people have seen that they've been conned. They've seen that nothing changed, that everything the district representative does has to be sifted through and has to be overseen and checked on or approved by a certain group of people. So now they have a beef with that family and all the surrogates who imposed that gentleman on them. And I think that is the #1 talking point in Micoud South.
Okay.
Right now.
So, all that being said, how are your chances looking this time around?
I'll tell you what. I remembered when Dr. Anthony introduced me, he said I was a secret weapon.
Yes.
And I like to be the underdog. And being the underdog sometimes has people to underestimate you. And that's one of the reasons I like our political leader. He reminds me a lot of my own disposition. The last elections, to be quite honest, I was the last candidate endorsed.
Yes.
I had basically 2.5 months to prepare. It was new to me. I knew nothing about politics. I was not involved in active politics at all. And I think all the groundwork had been done for Alan Chasney. So when I came on, it was pretty late, and the people were already drunk in this whole thing about by Kenny and all of this. So I was swept,
Yes.
by this wave. This is no longer the case. I have established myself in the constituency not just as an educator, but as a competent politician, as a competent individual who not only is part of the community, but is capable of representing my people in the parliament. I think my stint in the Senate has made that very clear. I don't think anybody can doubt that I'm doing what I have to do, and I have gotten quite a lot of good feedback. So it's basically making a transition from the upper house to the lower house. And I believe one of the things that has changed also is that the community has had a chance to see what Alan Chasney is about.
Yes.
Both as a national, on a national level and in the constituency. They know what he's about. This mystery and this, fantasy that he came with riding on this horse, this is no more. And they have seen, they've been able to compare. They listen to a conversation that I'm having with someone, or they see what I say, or they hear what I say, and they compare it with what Alan Chasney says, and they can make the decision now. It's right in front of them. So things have changed, and it's really now a matter of getting the campaign right, which I've been working on, and I think the seat is due.
Okay.
It is.
Great. St. Lucia, this is the first half of Chill and Chat. My guest, Senator Guibion Ferdinand. We'll be right back after the break. Welcome back to Chill and Chat, St. Lucia. Again, I'm your host, Mondi Lewis, and my guest, Senator Guibion Ferdinand, the candidate for Micoud South. So we've been talking about his life growing up in the community of Micoud, and also, you know, just his journey in leadership, in community involvement, and you know, it's just very exciting times because he has a mammoth task on his hand to rid us once and for all of the Prime Minister. And, you know, we really wish you all the best because St. Lucia needs that deliverance. But no pressure. No pressure. We have faith that you'll get it done.
If you have to think of it that way, you'd think it's impossible because it's, you know, because of the history of the constituency.
Yeah.
But I have never approached it in that way. I've always remained very calm and focused on the task. Sometimes you don't accomplish everything in one go. You do it incrementally.
Yes.
And I think over the last 5 years, that's exactly what has happened. So I'm taking my time about it. I am not getting over my head. My popularity in the community when I came in 2016 was probably the big thing. I don't have to prove that. People know me, they know who I am, they know what I stand for. Right now, it's a matter of getting the strategy right and delivering the seat. Without all the fanfare and excitement that everybody thinks can win elections. In fact, in 2016, there was so much excitement and there was all kinds of things going on, crowds all over the place.
Yes.
But the seat was not delivered.
Yes.
So I've learned that you do not win elections with loud noise and excitement, especially in a COVID environment. You have work to do on the ground and you do it. And I think St. Lucia generally wants to get rid of this Prime Minister. And Micoud South is beginning to feel that need to do so. I must tell you, it's not as automatic as some people think. It's true. But the community, the constituency is catching up very well. And that my responsibility is to enable that. And I think we're on track.
Yeah, and I think, you know, you've made the point, and I'm just very impressed by, you know, how, you know, that cool, calm assurance that you've given me that almost made me feel like, okay, yes, we're doing this. We're doing this. So, you know, I understand, and as you have really explained it, it's mindset, it's attitudes that have been there for years, decades, that you're really trying to chip away in just 5 years. So, I mean, it's not impossible.
Not at all. In fact, there were people who were extremely disappointed in 2016. They thought we just had this. They just thought, you know, just because of who you are, people will vote for you. I've learned, as Philip Pierre normally says to us, I've learned that you don't win elections by popularity and talk. You win elections in the ballot box.
Yeah.
If more people vote for you, that's how you win. And I've learned that, and that has helped me. I think being in opposition for 4.5, almost 5 years has really allowed me to get an education.
Indeed.
That's my passion about what I do. And it's important if you decide to get into a profession or into anything, that you learn it and you get better at it. I think now, 4 years later, I am a lot more prepared. I'm a lot more savvy than I was. I think I was very naive in 2016. I just thought all the young people were going to vote for me. They were running around the place with me and jumping up and singing Gibo, Gibo. But their families were still voting UWP. A lot of them couldn't even vote.
Yeah.
Registration of voters, all of these things were really pitfalls. And in the 4 years that I've been in opposition, we've had time to, you know, reflect on that and come back. So it's going to be very different this time around.
Very good. Within the 4 years, and you've been going around, and now that the campaign has intensified, what have been the major concerns of residents?
One would think that because you have a prime minister, that residents in Micoud South, for example, would have been really happy. It's amazing what people have to say. I think, for one, they have gotten fed up of this we call it FFF, but in Micoud South there's a separate FFF.
Okay.
Because there is something like a monarchy of families or a little tribal thing that's going on where everything has to be controlled by a certain group. They're fed up of that. Secondly, they're bitterly disappointed in the promises that were made to them on the campaign trail. All they've seen is a few projects started, but labor being imported, and that they are not participating in what's going on. They're bitterly disappointed in everything that was promised. So as a constituency, the people, some of them are very quiet and they don't want to admit it. But if you speak to them one-on-one, they'll tell you that they're not happy with what has happened. They even want to make the comparison with Sir John, you know, and that's interesting. So I think overall, I'm looking at a constituency with people who had some hope, but now their shoulders have dropped and they're just looking for a champion. They're looking for somebody who will deliver them from this. And that, I think that's where I come in. That's my responsibility now, to give the constituents hope that this is not going to be another bluff, because they have been bluffed. The ching-ching is not in their pockets. Well, maybe the ching-ching is, but the money is not in their pockets. Even the playing field. I mean, I told you earlier about my involvement in sports. The number one recreational facility and recreational sport in the constituency was the Deriso playing field. And what has happened there is that since 2016, there's hardly been anything going on there. They've taken away the facility and put there, you know, AstroTurf. And right now you get a few children trying to take a sweat there. There's been no competitive organized sporting activity, nothing, no cricket, no volleyball, no football. Well, the football went on for a year after I left, but since they started working on the facility, no alternative venue for the young people to recreate, nothing to really do except a few little road projects that you see. A road in Diga that was Fresh Start made all the money from. The Blasha road, which they just started, Nationwide is making all the money. And a few other basically road projects that they're trying to see if they can salvage a few votes from. And the people have seen that. There's also the community center in Blasha that they were supposed to have started so long ago. It's still just sitting there as, you know, nothing has happened. I just noted yesterday while I was making my rounds, there are two, and I want to say so because I think the people need to start paying attention to that. There are two polling divisions. The Diga Community Center, which is where polling division M2, right? M1, that is dilapidated. It was a preschool and it's been allowed to be dilapidated. Where are people going to vote? And there's the Lacoville Community Center, M2B, which is in the same condition. These buildings are, you know, you can't even use them. They're just in a terrible state. And these are polling divisions. So is somebody going to come quickly last minute and try and fix it so people can vote? Or are my supporters, Lacoville, I have, you know, traditionally done pretty well there. Are they going to be frustrated because they may have to go to Tirochet to vote? I'm watching this because I don't understand how you can have a constituency of a prime minister. The only preschool in Diga has, you know, the building can't be used. It's a polling division. And the only recreational, well, not recreational, but public facility in Lacoville where someone can have a meeting or something is in the same condition. And it's also a polling division. So these are examples of the disappointments.
Okay.
So the few little roads, I'm not sure that can erase. The people have learned, they've decided, they've made up their mind, they know what's going on.
So now that there's the disappointment, what is your commitment to your community? And again, you spoke so fondly of the memories you've had growing up. What is your commitment to your people that if, you know, you're elected to be their representative, what would you do differently? What would you do better for the constituents?
Monday, I think I can capture that in one word: empowerment. I want to keep it very simple. People are not empowered when you hand them things. People are empowered when you allow them to be able to develop themselves. I grew up in this community, and all we've learned, essentially, most of the time, is that people they feel sorry for us, they give us things. And I was empowered through education. That was my number one, that was my breakthrough. My vision for the constituency, even before I was a politician. As a young man, the first child, looking at how my brothers and sisters grew up, as a young athlete, looking at we used to get licks everywhere we play, and that stopped. And as an educator, the status of our schools have changed. In every aspect of service that I have been involved in, I've always tried to make it better and empower the people I work with. As a politician, we have to empower the people of Micoud South. We cannot allow them to think that they have to depend on anyone to look after them, because they have the potential and the ability within them. But you cannot empower people if you don't create avenues and opportunities. So I'll encapsulate it in one word: empowerment. That's the what. But the how, for me, is really by creating opportunities for people to grow. The young people need to become entrepreneurs. They need to create employment for themselves. It cannot just be a little contract there and 2 days work there and a little gig there and a 2 days by KM2 or by Ojo Labs, or that does not empower you. That makes you dependent. People have to learn to be able to, to learn how to fish. Stop giving them the fish. So my intention through the politics of this country and as a parliamentary rep is to create avenues for the constituents to be empowered. One, entrepreneurship. We have a lot of land in Micoud South. Land, farming land. A lot of families have children at home who have nothing to do because they don't have the tools to be able to make use of these things. We also have people with ideas. There's a lot of CMOS farming going on. People are concerned about markets. But outside of the land, we also have the human resource. I grew up on banana money, but I moved to other things. There are people in Micoud South who have ideas, but you have to empower them. And I think the youth economy will address that, because you need to be able to provide them with a start, an avenue for them to be able to take these skills and develop them into careers, and take those, their hobbies, the things they like to do, their passion, and become entrepreneurs. That has not been happening in Micoud South. Very few young people in Micoud South can tell you that they own a business or they have a business plan. On the ground, I'm getting it from them. They have a desire, but they don't see how they can set up, let us say, a beauty parlor, or they can do some, they can set up a farm and have a greenhouse and produce anything for an extended period of time. They don't see how they can do it because there's nothing to enable it. What they've been reduced to by this administration for sure, and perhaps previously, is the handouts, a little contract, a little 2 days work, a little gig. This irritates me as a young man who is ambitious. We deserve better than that. This is not what defines me as a Derisonian, as we say, or someone from Micoud South. We are better than that. I've worked in the constituency, Micoud Secondary. A lot of the students came from that area, and we have some bright people around there. We can do better than that. So, in essence, my vision for my constituency, even before I was a politician, was always to empower people, to make them self-sufficient and less dependent on others. And I think I've achieved it to some extent, but with the ability to inform policy and to participate at that level, I think it will open many more doors for my constituents.
Very nicely said. I totally agree with you. When you go around and you see so many depressed communities and people telling you that St. Lucia is thriving, St. Lucia is doing well, and I just can't understand how it could be right there in your constituency and not see that really it's not the truth.
Let's quantify it. If you put together the value, the monetary value of two of the main projects that have been undertaken in Micoud South that everybody's talking about. You know, they were talking, Alan Chasney did an Alan Chasney Drive. First road you built, you named it after you. 18 million or 15 million. And then another one, you probably get about almost $40 million of infrastructural work that has been done. Tell me how it has changed the lives of 10 people in Micoud South. Just 10. Fresh Start picks up all the money and leaves with it. Nationwide makes a lot of money, and a few people holding a stop and go sign, a few young ladies in the constituency for a few weeks. That's empowerment. A few guys get 2 days work in a drain and a this and a little bit of that, and they drink half the money. They don't even have the skills to be able to make use of it. They've not been empowered to do that. And you say that you're doing something. Yes, you may quote unquote the figures, but that's not how you develop people. You don't give them gigs. Some of them have no long-term employment opportunities. They don't have a pension. The young people in the community do not have much hope in what's going on. They see things, they see nice, as we say, gla projects. But let's take a look at that and see how does that impact their lives. I'm saying it again, 50 million almost in infrastructural projects. I need 10 people from the constituency who can say that this has helped change their lives. And you wouldn't find that. So what's the point?
Okay.
The taxpayers' money being spent, they pay taxes, we do, and there's no impact.
But as you say impact, what has been the impact of COVID-19 in your community? I mean, already, you know, you've had employment issues, but COVID-19, for those who probably were working and had to help family members, it's probably made matters even worse. How has that been? And I know you've been doing drives, and for Christmas you did your drives and your outreach to the elderly. But again, what has been the word on the ground?
I don't think Micoud South's situation is any different from most other communities in the country, except that there are some people who are really suffering because even before COVID, their livelihood had been affected.
Yes.
We had quite a few employees on the home health care program and other areas of the NICE program who have been at home, and many of them moved into their little farming and private, you know. We have quite a few people who also work in the hospitality industry from Micoud South, those who came back from the cruise ships and so on. And what they're offering them is, the same little gigs, or the COVID police and so on. There are quite a few of them on that. I think generally the constituents are really, really suffering. And because they don't have the luxury of what maybe people in the more urban communities can turn to for short-term employment, they're really in a bad place. But I think our constituents generally are very cooperative, and I've noticed that they try to adhere to the protocols. The children in schools, I think, would be the most affected because, of course, the schools, you know what's going on with this back and forth in the school system, and most of our parents have to be out on the farms and doing their work, so it's an access to the tools and the resources to help manage them. That is affecting a lot of the families in Micoud South.
Okay. St. Lucia, again, my guest, Senator Guibion Ferdinand, and this has been our second segment of Chill and Chat, but we'll be back with my very favorite part of the show where we get to know, again, a little more intimately the man who will unseat the Prime Minister of St. Lucia once and for all. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Chill and Chat St. Lucia. My guest, Senator Guibion Ferdinand, the candidate for Micoud South. So now we'll get into my favorite segment, some quick fire questions. And Senator, we're looking forward to getting to know you a little more, but on the fun side.
Okay.
Okay, so first question, who's your hero?
Domestic, I guess I have two. Domestic, my mom. I was raised, I'm a first child, and from early, she inspired me, taught me how to read. That was the best thing she ever did. That took me to higher heights, and instills in essential values of humility, trust, honesty, and struggled very hard to raise me. So I think most of my success is indebted to her. But I do have another hero. Not too many people would think about it, but it's the president of Pakistan, Imran Khan. I followed him as a young man, especially because he was a cricketer. I saw how he led his team to a World Cup as an underdog, Pakistan. And from there, with all the struggles in the Middle East, he became the president. And from sports to politics, and has been a very successful and inspiring man. Very intelligent, was educated in the UK. He's a handsome fella, so, you know, he's a good-looking man, carries himself well, and a real inspiration. So, yeah, I would love to have looked back and achieved some of what a man like him has achieved. Okay. So, yeah.
What's the greatest gift we could give ourselves?
Love. There's an old saying that the more you give, the more you receive. So my formula in life is give as much love as I can, and I'll get it back. And it gives you peace of mind. Never mind all the other things that people fuss about, money, status. If you don't love anyone or nobody loves you, you're a lonely wreck. So yeah, for me, love.
Love, very nice. Finish the sentence. What St. Lucia needs now is?
The St. Lucia Labour Party.
I agree. I agree.
The St. Lucia Labour Party and a leader you could trust.
Yes.
So I think that is there, and I think St. Lucia needs to grab that.
Okay, definitely. If you become MP and could tackle only one issue, what would that be?
So many. Unemployment. I think it's still the biggest problem that I see affecting my community, and yeah, we need to attack it, but not in the way that it's being addressed now, not by handouts and gigs, but by empowering people.
Yeah, sustainable livelihoods, that's how we call it.
Yeah, unemployment.
Why Philip J. Pierre for Prime Minister?
I think I touched on it before.
Yes.
Philip is a leader you can trust. Simple guy, comfortable in his skin, a little different. He doesn't carry the aura and the totalitarian type of hand man St. Lucians have become used to. He's not a Compton or a Kenny Anthony, but he's different. And I think his leadership is really about building teams and making everyone around him a leader. I've learned a lot from him. We don't carry the same kind of personality, but I think he's just the man we need now.
I totally
at this
agree.
time. With this current situation we're going through, we don't need a big, bragging, loud mouth talker. We need a man that can get the work done.
Yes, meticulous, hardworking, and
just get the job done. That's Philip for me. Yeah, no time for big flash and nothing. Just get to work and deliver. Yeah.
I totally agree with you on that one. This next question for me is funny because you said so many people around you were UWPs. So why the St. Lucia Labour Party for you?
I was always the underdog, and I always felt that there was a better way. What we had for many years didn't work, and I think what the Labour Party offered in terms of its social development focus, the philosophy, is exactly what ought to have been happening. So yes, despite the Labour Party being perceived as the underdog, I believe that it's the better choice.
Very true. What keeps you up at night?
Sure, you want me to tell you that?
I hope it's not cricket.
Funny, my children and the nation's children's future. I ponder on it a lot, and what I've seen in the last 5 years has really worried me. They're going to be paying our pension. They're going to be taking care of me when I'm an old man. And what we do for them or with them now will determine that. So Yeah, that keeps me up. My own children and the nation's children. Yeah.
Okay. Green fig and saltfish or bouillon?
Oh, that's a no-brainer. That one.
Bouillon?
Bouillon, but with pumpkin, lots of pumpkin, spinach, and coconut milk.
Okay.
It better have.
Can you actually make that?
If you ask anybody around my home, that's what anytime I get a chance to cook, that's my first choice.
Okay, okay.
And I think I get everybody to eat. Yeah.
Okay, so
I'm pretty good at sandwiches and snacks. But the bouillon one pot, yeah, that's it.
I'll need to try this,
Yeah.
and I'll tell you guys.
I challenge you, come down anytime, and
Okay,
you'll
definitely.
love it. Yeah.
If you could choose a superpower, what would it be?
I don't believe too much in those, but I'd like to be the invisible guy, the invisible man. Just no one sees and gets to talk about what I do, but I just get things done, fix the problems that just solve issues, and don't be making a big noise about it. So
Okay.
you don't see me, but I get things done.
All right, fair enough. Any final words for St. Lucia as we're nearing the election?
Yeah, I think that's important because there's a lot of talk, but I think we need to. Mia Motley reminds me when I think of the situation. I remember Mia Motley on election day in Barbados. People talking about the money truck, and she just said, keep calm. We've got this. And I think we need to remind St. Lucians. We know you've made up your mind. We know what's going on. Just keep calm. We've got this. We just have to remain focused. I know a lot is going to happen. The UWP is going to try everything. They are desperate. But we need to just keep calm. St. Lucians need to keep calm. Trust the process of the elections. I think we still have a very credible and reliable electoral process. And we've got this. We'll get the job done. We'll deliver St. Lucia from this crisis. So just remain calm. Do a little bit like me. Just chill, and we've got it.
You've really given me like a chill because I'm very, okay, we have this to do, let's do this. But, I think that quiet reassurance was very good for me today. So St. Lucia, keep calm and just vote them out. That's it for Chill and Chat with Senator Guibion Ferdinand. Thank you for being my guest. I'm sure St. Lucians enjoyed our time together. Remember to make sure you register to vote. And really, the vote matters on the day. So you have to go out to vote, St. Lucia. And we're counting on you because St. Lucia really needs a new way, and that is with the St. Lucia Labour Party. So thank you. I'm your host, Mondi Lewis, and that's it for Chill and Chat.